Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we're going to talk about a seemingly dishonest ex-vegan to anti-vegan carnivore grifter platforming another dishonest ex-vegan grifter, and how I was blocked for pointing this out. And I'll be using this little story to bolster a new viewpoint that I have on these ex-vegan to anti-vegan grifters that I think we should all be adopting at this point. And when I say we, I mean, vegans. So the ex-vegan carnivore platforming the dishonest ex-vegan grifter goes by the name of the Carnivorist. I was scrolling through Twitter and saw this post from him. It says, "New episode with the amazing @vegan_recovering. Blah, blah, blah. Take a listen. Hopefully someone will hear the message now rather than feel the pain later." When I saw this post, I was like, no, dude, you're really going to be platforming this liar and you're calling her amazing? The only truly amazing quality of her is to lie so often and then to continue to lie about not lying. If you're unfamiliar with who she is, I did a video in the past on her titled "The Most Dishonest Anti-Vegan of All Time." And unlike most of my clickbait titles, this title was not an exaggeration. I am sincerely of the belief that she holds this title. From those who haven't seen the video, I'll play a couple clips from it just to give you an understanding of where I'm coming from and the way I reacted upon seeing that the Carnivorist is platforming her. And after that, we'll go into what unfolded, how I got blocked, what this says about the Carnivorist, and these ex-vegan anti-grifters in general, seeking to find an audience after claiming that veganism failed them. Let us now focus on an extremely informative thread by Veganella covering recovering vegans' lies and other evidence leading to why I don't think she is a trustworthy person. The thread starts with Veganella saying, "For those who have missed the last 48 hours, @vegan_recovering, or Giselle Bisson, I don't know how to pronounce her name, has been found to be misleading others about how long she was vegan for and blaming her ailments on a vegan diet. Let's look at the facts." She claims to have been vegan for 18 years. She said, "I was vegan for 18 years, vegetarian off/on since 1986. I started a keto diet with meat in 2020, but still eating plants and still have autoimmune issues. But all my other vegan health problems disappeared: coughing, sinus, migraine, cystic acne, constant candida, UTIs, etc." Now, just to be clear, she claims to have been vegetarian on and off since 1986 all the way up to 2002, which is where she fully went vegan for 18 years, all the way up to 2020. Because of how inconsistent her story is as to how long she was vegan, we're going to stick to her 18-year story going forward. But you should be aware that in the past, she has said it was 20 years she was vegan, almost 20 years, 17 years, and 15 years. She even implied she was doing this for animals in these tweets. Keep that in mind going forward. So back to Veganella's thread. She says her own posts show that she was vegan for 2 years, from 2003 to 2005, and then possibly a period in 2018. Here's the main post. She says, "Let's see if I can stick with this. It's easier now than when I was vegan in 2003 to 2005. There are so many more options now." So just take note of the clear discrepancy between her saying earlier that she was vegan for 18 years, starting in 2002 all the way up to 2020, and her saying that she was only vegan from 2003 to 2005. This obviously doesn't make any sense. There was also a before and after she posted where she claims the picture on the left is her at age 52 in 2014, after having been raw vegan, then some eggs for 12 years. But how could she have been vegan from 2002 to 2020 for 18 years when she admits she was eating eggs at some point between 2002 and 2014 alongside her mostly raw vegan diet? This also doesn't make any sense. So the question is, which is it? Was she vegan for 2 years from 2003 to 2005, 18 years from 2002 to 2020, 20 years, almost 20 years, 17 years, 15 years, or sometime between 2002 and 2014 before she started adding eggs to her diet? And here's another important detail. She also said that after going keto with meat in 2020, all of her vegan health problems disappeared. Keyword, vegan health problems. So presumably she was eating a vegan diet leading up to 2020. But we already know she was eating eggs during that time alongside her raw vegan diet from 2002 to 2014. And now I'll be covering some further evidence directly conflicting with the idea that she was a vegan from 2002 to 2020, outside of the other evidence I've already shared suggesting that she was eating eggs at some point between 2002 and 2014. And here's just a couple things to consider before I show this evidence. All of these posts from her that I'm about to show you are from when she was supposedly vegan, meaning they take place sometime between 2002 to 2020. And remember that she was supposedly vegan for the animals. So here is Camaronas, posted by her account back in December of 2012, during her supposed mostly raw vegan and vegan phase. Here is brunch including turkey sausage in August of 2013 during her supposed raw vegan phase and vegan phase. In October of 2014, we have organic lamb bone broth with fall vegetables and a red wine simmering, again, while she was supposedly vegan. Are these things that a vegan concerned with animal rights would be posting to their page? Chicken pot pie in November of 2015 while she was supposedly vegan. She says she was in heaven over it. What ethical vegan is in heaven over chicken pot pie? Salmon red pepper skewers in May of 2016. She says, salmon red pepper skewers, I ate a ton of these at a party, yum. So while she was supposedly vegan for the animals in 2016, she ate a bunch of salmon red pepper skewers. How vegan of her. Meat and eggs in September of 2016 while she was supposedly vegan. Blackened cod on the 9th of January 2017 while she was supposedly vegan. South American cuisine at a restaurant called Voya in January of 2018 while she was supposedly vegan. Making paella with some guy named Carlos in July of 2017. A sushi flower in June of 2018. And just going back to the 10th of January of 2017, we have a Japanese curry pork where she says, I don't usually eat pork, but this was a hit. She also said, my only feedback is that it needs more curry. I actually confronted her on Twitter concerning this post, and here's what she said. I made this for my boyfriend. Nice try, I didn't eat pork. Now, I'll let you guys be the judge. When somebody says, I usually don't eat pork, but this was a hit, or my only feedback is that it needs more curry in regard to a dish, can you confidently infer that they ate the dish? I responded back to her saying, doubling down on your lies, absolutely ridiculous. Quote, I don't usually eat pork, but this was a hit. Quote, my only feedback is that it needs more curry. Totally makes sense to call something taste-wise a hit / give it feedback when you never tried it. You're truly unbelievable. All right, so as you can see, she is a very honest person. So I retweeted that first tweet and said, amazing at lying, LOL, and linked my video exposing her lies. I got no response. So later I ended up directly tagging him and asking for his thoughts on the video. He ended up not replying and just blocked me instead. Now, let's be clear. My video puts him in a very odd position. Anybody intellectually honest knows that the evidence of her lies is undeniable in my video. There's even a carnivore on Twitter who sees her as totally dishonest. So if he ends up watching my video, he has a couple choices. He can be honest, delete his interview with her, and condemn her for her lies, no longer viewing her ex-vegan story as credible enough to bolster his anti-vegan agenda. Or he can stick to his anti-vegan agenda, ignore all the undeniable evidence that she is a liar, and stick to promoting her, quote, story to continue his anti-vegan, ex-vegan grift. In a way, my sending of my video to him is a test of intellectual honesty. It's very similar to what I do in debates with people where if they don't concede on a very simple point, I refuse to go forward with them on, far more complex points. It's like, what's the point? Like, you can't even concede this very basic one that is so obvious for you to concede. So you're going to be even harder to get to concede on more complex points. We're done with this conversation. So in this case, it's like, if you can't acknowledge that she's a liar and it's, so undeniable, then why should we trust you at all in the future? And he is a rather new ex-vegan, anti-vegan content creator. And we all know how powerful first impressions can be. I truly hope he ends up seeing my original video on her and this video. Now here's something I discovered which may explain why he was so quick to block me and not watch the video and, condemn recovering vegan for her lies. I came across this tweet toward him from a vegan that said, the carnivorist is also a liar. Listen to some podcasts, including the one with Sean Baker, and he contradicted himself many times, pretty much in the same way that vegan recovering did. So I decided to investigate this. I came to find out that the carnivorist pretty much implied on the Sean Baker podcast that plant-based supplements didn't work for him. Now, I don't know what he means by plant-based supplements. He probably just means vegan supplements. But anyway, here's the clip.
But you were supplementing B12. Is that correct? I think you said you were.
I was, sir. But here's the irony. And just before our conversation today, I was looking at some blood work that I had the micronutrient test done by SpectraCell. You probably heard of them before, just when I was at my sickest. And you hit the nail on the head, Dr. Baker. When the micronutrient test came back, all of my B vitamins were in the toilet. They were non-existent. So my Krebs cycle was being affected. My magnesium was low. My zinc was low. All of the nutrients we find bioavailable in meat were not there. And I, of course, was taking a plant-based B12 supplement, was nowhere near as effective.
I later found a thread conversation with him with the same vegan that I mentioned before, asking him about his B12 supplementation and B12 injections that he supposedly got. After being asked about this, he said, what exactly are you getting at here? When I ran my blood work early on, it showed a B12 and other B vitamins deficiency, despite what I thought would help, so I agreed to get injections and Myers cocktail IV drip as well. Still did not help. So I want you to take note very closely of him saying that the B12 injections did not help. So far, what he said is consistent with what he said on the Sean Baker podcast. These, quote, plant-based or vegan B12 supplements did not help. But check this out. The same vegan ended up asking him if the B12 injections did not help his serum B12 and or homocysteine. And he says, my guess is they did come up, meaning that his B12 levels did come up, meaning that the B12 injections did help. The vegan says, but you started with that in both podcasts. I'm assuming he's referring to another podcast where he talks about the story. But anyway, the vegan says, so you are saying you don't know that your B12 issues were the result of a vegan diet. You had some underlying issues, and also you are not sure that supplements and shots did not resolve that issue. He says, do you really want a date timeline of my whole journey? Funny, he said journey though. I literally got those injections right before lockdown started. So yes, I am unsure, but guess they must have. At that point, my constant weight loss and blood in my stool were more concerning. Now, do you see the contradiction here? When asked if the B12 injections worked, he said he guesses his B12 levels had gone up. And when pressed further about the B12 injections working, he says, I am unsure, but I guess they must have worked. So not only is there a contradiction between what he has said here and what he said in the Sean Baker podcast, but there's even a contradiction between what he has said in this exact thread. Remember earlier he said he got B12 injections and they still did not help. And on the podcast he implied that the B12 supplements did not work. But then a little time later, when asked if his B12 injections helped, he says, I guess my B12 levels did come up and I'm unsure, but guess the B12 injections must have helped. So the B12 supplements or, B12 injections both did not help, but also must have helped. Makes sense. The carnivorous also claims he was vegetarian when he actually ate fish.
But about the same time, I met a young lady who happened to be vegetarian. And I think back in the early 90s, that was pretty impressive for her because there wasn't a lot of vegetarian stuff out there. And it just so happened we went out to a restaurant together when I was first dating her, and I got salmonella poisoning. So basically what happened is I went vegetarian after that because it was a pretty bad case. It was reported in the local newspaper. This restaurant had a pretty bad salmonella outbreak, and it happened to be in the chicken. And just for ease of eating and everything, I became vegetarian at the time. I kept fish in my diet and eggs, which she had kept. She didn't have any fish at the time. And that continued on for a great deal of my life, decades, in fact.
Oh, and just thought I'd mention this, but it's not really going to be a surprise for anybody at this point. Him and his wife, when he was, quote, vegan, juiced and ate what seems to be a raw vegan diet. So he's just going from one meme diet to another, which seems to be typical of most of the ex-vegans we see. So, similar to recovering vegan, the carnivorous has a story which does not add up, and in the past he classified himself as a certain diet type when he actually wasn't even under that diet type. These people really are just all the same in all the ways that matter for us to just not take them seriously. After discovering all this information, it's no surprise to me that he blocked me for calling out him platforming a person whose story is based on inconsistencies and lies. Now, I put a fraction of the time I put investigating recovering vegan investigating the carnivorous. I'm sure if I kept looking, I could find some other conflicting information. The view I'm starting to develop around these meme ex-vegan to anti-vegan creators online is that they're mostly just hypochondriacs with very distorted and clouded memories of their time transitioning from meme diet to meme diet to meme diet. And for this reason, I believe that their anecdotes just cannot be trusted. And the irony here is that the soul of these people's content is usually their anecdotes and their stories. So without them, they pretty much have nothing. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me on Patreon and get early access to my content and message me one-on-one, you can click the link in the pinned comment. If you don't know, I do have a book going over most, if not all, of the anti-vegan arguments you can hear online. If you want to get that as well, that'll be linked in the pinned comment. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dude.
Fuck off, I don't want anything to do with you. Don't ever speak to me again. You're a fucking piece of shit.
Even vegans don't get your weird, stupid wannabe sense of irony here. Who is your audience? Nobody gets these dumb jokes. Dude,